even when I was making good money, I was a driver for Uber. And I joked about it saying, there's probably not a whole lot of Uber drivers making the kind of money I make in my day job. But if my kids were asleep, my wife was asleep, I could sit there and watch a movie at night, or I could make a couple $100. And that was my decision, Friday, Saturday night to go do that and just kind of bring in some extra, fun money or do other things that I could pay off, the mortgage faster. And so that's what I did. Anytime I could find a little side hustles, nothing crazy that moved the needle a lot, but I felt like it was a game to go do those things. And it's always been my mindset.
You're listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast, where you'll hear the stories and interviews of everyday millionaires. We'll unveil their decisions, their strategies, and their current portfolio allocation. Now to your hosts, Clark Sheffield and Jace Mattinson.
Welcome to Millionaires Unveiled podcast. This is episode number 237. Today on the show, we've got a great guest. We've got Mitch. He's a net worth of just over $1 million. He's got a paid-for house, which is really unique. He's been an Uber driver. He's done all sorts of things as a side hustle, works in tech sales, got a really unique story about potentially going to dental school and then ended up having a few children and whatnot in college. And so decided to pursue a career. So super exciting episode. Last week, we had a couple guest interviews with Chad and Joe. Talked about their new books and got an update with some things with them. So super interesting episodes with them. Go check that out. A lot of interesting things happening in the world right now. And reports just came out where we've got, record inflation. Came across an article in Forbes that says, run, don't walk to buy Treasury I bonds paying over 7% to beat inflation. So super interesting, dynamics in the market right now. Treasury bonds paying 7%. If you're interested in that, I think you have locked that down by the end of April here. But a lot of different things that we haven't seen, in the marketplace in a couple of decades, even in some cases, probably not at all. So definitely something to pay attention to. Obviously, we've got all sorts of geopolitical things at stake as well. And without any further delay, let's get into the episode with Mitch.
Mitch, do you want to just give us a little about your background or what you're up to now?
Yeah, I am in software sales. I'm a account executive. Been doing that for about 8 years now.
Awesome. And what is your net worth today?
We just hit over 1.1.
Nice. Came on the show to do the $1 million holler. I like it.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this 1.1. What is the makeup of the 1.1?
So the biggest chunk right now, and we can go into strategy and kind of personal finance, why I went this route, but our biggest chunk, that 1.1, is our home equity. Our house we just paid it off last month, and it's worth about $700K. So that's the big chunk. We've got about $210 in 401ks, 80 cash, emergency funds, and kind of just monthly spending. Another $70K in IRAs, Roth IRAs. Kids, we got $40K in 529s. I play around with a little, individual stock from ESPPs, so about $30K there, and another 15, 20 in the HSAs. That's kind of the breakdown.
Nice. So, let's just start, I guess, with the biggest chunk there. Paid for house, $700-some thousand. How did you decide to pay off the house? Why so much in home equity?
Yeah, well, we unintentionally, we've kind of just done well in real estate, and it wasn't a plan of ours. We didn't try to say, hey, I'm going to go house hack or anything like that, or, geo arbitrage. I've seen a lot of people do that, but this is our third house, and we've been married, 10 years now. So each time we bought a starter home, 2011, right when we got married, and it was, great brand new build, 125K, just Arizona. Kind of the housing market just was terrible at the time. So walked into that for 125K, just wanted it gone. I wanted the payment gone. I was in sales, seeing a lot of people do very well and then not do well. And so I just didn't want that overhead. I wanted it gone, especially being the sole income and just, having good years and bad years in sales. It was less risky to me at the time. So I just said, hey, I'm going to pay that off. And then, we got super close, and then the kids got a little bit older. And I said, well, this is not where we want our kids to go to school. So we kind of went up in house. So we sold that starter home, after living in it for 5 years, and we sold it for, I think, 150K profit. we flipped it for 275. And again, it wasn't an intentional flip. We just, let's move up in house.
How many years was that after you bought it?
5 years.
Okay.
So we lived in that one for 5 years, took a good chunk of change, bought a bigger house, and then said, hey, same thing. Well, we extended the mortgage a little bit. I was so close. And I tasted it, and I was like, I just want that mortgage gone. And then I was like, crap, now I've got a bigger mortgage all over again. So kind of started from not ground zero, but I said, hey, let's do it again. Bought that house for, $470, which is a good size home, big mortgage, but we rolled everything over to that. Lived that house for another 3 years, sold, bought it for $470, sold it for $590. So another $120,000. So it just felt like every time we just rolled up, bought a bigger house, and we did well with real estate. So now we're where we're at. We bought this home, didn't have a huge mortgage to pay off when we moved up here to Utah, and we were able to pay it off relatively quick with some big commission checks.
So let's kind of go back into this a little bit. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I know you mentioned that you've kind of rolled this, but you've also paid significant payments. One question we always ask, as it relates to home and home ownership and home equity, every time that you got a mortgage, did you do a 15-year or did you do a 30-year?
So we started a 30-year, our very first home. And I joke about it because, again, I was straight out of college. I did the summer sales thing, going door to door doing pest control. And that's how I kind of got started in sales to cash flow college. But I just always hated debt. I just didn't want it. I didn't want student loans. So I said, hey, how do I make money through college to not have a payment or a student loan? And so I kind of went that same mindset. But we said, hey, with our first home for $125K starter home in Phoenix, like it was a no-brainer, short sale, foreclosure, just we stole it. And I just felt like, a 30-year, but we didn't know anything about finance back then. I think we did a FHA or one of the whatever loans. And I think we put $2,500 down on this house to buy this house. It was just insane to get in there for no money. And I joke, we put more down on our first car when we first got a car, when we got married, on the car down payment than the house. So it was just kind of ridiculous how that worked out.
So after that, were they 15 years then?
So once we were on the 30-year in that first starter home, then I found the whole Dave Ramsey. We took the Financial Peace University and said, hey, the math makes sense for us to try to pay this thing off as soon as possible. We did refinance from a 30 to a 15 on that first starter home. And then ever since then, each of the other homes, we've always been on a 15.
And over the course of the last 8 years, let's call it, have you paid more than the mortgage payment pretty much every single month? Or has it just been one big hit with some of the commission checks and you've paid the minimums in between there?
So we've always tried to pay extra every single month where we could, and we did our budget. And towards the last little bit here, we were always paying $500 extra a month on the mortgage. But those commission checks really helped move the needle, and we just lived like I didn't earn them for the longest time. Made some decent money, and we didn't let lifestyle creep kind of kick in, and we just said, hey, commission checks go straight to the mortgage, and we acted like I never earned them. So wasn't as fun and flashy as some of my other, sales guys going, awesome cars and trips and things, but I was boring with the money, and we put it to the house, and I think we'll end up okay.
So Mitch, we know the ending of the story here, not ending, but where you're at now, right? 1.1, 700 in the house. You just mentioned you got into Dave Ramsey, right? You took Financial Peace. So let's back it up to that point. How did this all start? And I guess, first of all, when you bought that first home, were you in debt at all? Did you have any debt besides the primary mortgage?
I didn't. My wife, when we first got married, she had a little bit of student loans and a little bit of a car debt. And then right after we got married, we went and got not a new car, but a newer to us car. And we went to the dealership, and that was the very first time I had ever took on personal debt. And I didn't like it. I hated driving out of there, and I was happy to get a new car and stuff, but I just didn't like the feeling. And so from that, I kind of started looking at, debt and financial, and that kind of got the ball rolling. And then that's when I found, Dave Ramsey, and just it vibed with everything that I felt with get out of debt and, build a legacy. And I'd seen my mom struggle with money. Her parents had struggled with money, and we didn't want that to be us moving forward. We wanted to have a good life, good quality life, and, retire pretty set. So that it kind of started right after we got married. I had some money saved up. I paid off her student debt and paid off her car from my summer job. So we started relatively clean right after we got married, just with me paying off with the debt that she had. And it wasn't much. It was like 15 grand or something like that.
And when you said your mom and others struggled with money, was it because they didn't make enough, or was it because of choices?
My mom, she had gone through a couple different divorces, and, after being separated, she tried and to do everything that she could. And I wouldn't say it was choices. It just was an income problem, not there's income and outgo, right? It's not like we were living lavishly and making bad decisions. It's just, there was more month than money, right? So
sure.
That's kind of, I lived that and felt that. And from a young age, my first job, paper route at 13, and then college, I did a lot of side hustles and hacks, and it was just a game to me to always do some different things to make money on the side. So I didn't have to feel like the scarcity, and I could, still be disciplined, but I wanted to focus on the income instead of the outgo as much. It's a little bit more fun that way.
So you shared with us prior to the show too, that you were the first in your family on either side to attend college, correct?
Yeah. That was a big deal. And that was, something I was definitely proud of. I wanted to, being a single mom, or being raised by a single mom, I adopted some father figures around me from some good friends, and I looked up to their dads and, the family that they had and the lifestyle that they had. And one of my biggest influences, he was a very, very successful orthodontist. And I said, well, being naive and, in high school, you're like, I don't know what he does or how he does it, but I see his life and I want that. And so I said, that's what I'm going to school for. I'm going to be an orthodontist because the guy makes bank and he has a good life. So, I graduated summa cum laude pre-med, and that was the route that I was going to go. And then, life threw us some curveballs.
So, let's go into that. But first, financial piece, how did you come across that?
I don't remember where that came up. I initially think it was one of we lived in South Phoenix, and it wasn't the best neighborhood. The neighborhood itself was fine, but it was around, in South Phoenix. So it was a harder place to, with kids and schools and everything. But there was a community center, a YMCA, that we went and worked out. It was an awesome brand new center and, cheap gym and indoor pool, and the kids loved it. But they had part of that YMCA. They did offer FPU, or Financial Peace University, and I can't remember if that's the very first place I had heard of it, or I had heard of it and then found out that they were offering it there. But that's where we ended up taking it. Was that at a YMCA or no, it wasn't a YMCA. It's Salvation Army, kind of a rec center type thing, and they did that class. Yeah. And that's I had heard some of the Dave stuff, and I was really into it. My wife was not so much at first, and so I said, just come take this class with me, see if we can get on the same page. And after that, it was not a lot of pushback from her. We were on the same page.
Yeah, thanks. So then you graduated in undergrad, but then you decided to change career fields.
Yeah, well, I'd say career field. I graduated, and the last semester of my senior year, my wife and I found out we were pregnant with triplets, and that threw us for a loop of what next. The plan was dental school, and even if we knew maybe one kid was coming, and we were planning on that, but one kid, 3 kids changes things very, very differently quickly. And not yet graduated. I didn't have a job. We didn't have insurance, and we weren't making anything at that time. So I said, hey, whether we put this on pause for now with dental school, maybe that's what I have to do to go get a job with insurance and make some decent money at first, just to kind of maybe gap next couple years until dental school. And I found a job on Craigslist with my door-to-door sales experience in tech sales, software, HR, and I got hired, and I was there for 5 years, and there hasn't been an opportunity to go back into dental school, or we have had a pretty good life, and I don't know if that's still in the cards, but so far I like where I'm at, and we feel blessed for it.
As you've gone on this journey, you've shared a couple of things with us, to get yourself to get yourself where you've gotten, and other things that you've mentioned. What sacrifices have you made for you, your family, to get to this point at such a young age?
There's not like one big thing. I mean, obviously going through financial peace and learning, and then I got hooked on personal finance, and it was, again, it was a game to me. I don't think we lived some deprived life, but we made some hard decisions of, seeing our friends, especially around us, like, being in the sales job that I was, we all made good money in that software sales field, and seeing, people right next to me do fun things, or, buy the fancy cars, or take some amazing trips and do things, at a younger age. One, we couldn't do that with, brand new kids. So that, it made it a little easier to not go on some such lavish vacations without the kids. But we were just focused on what we wanted. We made some goals of, we really want to change, it sounds cliche, but change our family tree of, hey, your parents struggled with money for different reasons. My mom, we never had that. We wanted to set ourselves up and our kids and grandkids and really, as Dave says, change our family tree. And so we were focused on that. And so we made some decisions of, we said no a lot when we wanted to say yes. And, or is it a want? Is it a need? Is it, we followed a budget. We didn't do the crazy envelope systems all the time, because we were already out of debt pretty close on after our marriage. So we never let ourselves get into debt. So it was really just, we could attack the house. And that's been the goal for the last 7, 8 years. But I would say the biggest thing is just doing the boring stuff with money and setting it up with the 401ks and the 529s and life insurance, and really kind of checking those boxes off and trying to be smart with it, and being generous along the way, so we can help others as well, so that we could just set ourselves up for success later on.
Totally. Did you pick up any side hustles or earn any extra income along the way outside of just working in tech sales?
Yeah. I mean, back in college, that's kind of where it started. I'd give plasma, on the side, just so I'd do my homework. I bring my laptop, and I was like, I'm getting paid to do my homework. It was a game to me to make extra money. Or I'd flip stuff on Craigslist, and I still did that all the time, whether it was a free trampoline or something like that with the mat was bad, but the structure was good. I'd get a new mat for cheap and flip it for a couple $100. Like, it was just things like that to me. That was a game. And then even when I was making good money, I tried to hack Uber hack is what I call it. I was a driver for Uber, and I joked about it, saying, there's probably not a whole lot of Uber drivers making the kind of money I make in my day job, but if my kids were asleep, my wife was asleep, I could sit there and watch a movie at night, or I could make a couple $100. And that was my decision, Friday, Saturday night, to go do that and just kind of bring in some extra, fun money, or do other things that I could pay off, the mortgage faster. And so that's what I did. Anytime I could find a little side hustles, nothing crazy that moved the needle a lot, but I felt like it was a game to go do those things. And it's always been my mindset.
Wow. How long did you drive for Uber? And how long did you give plasma for?
I did plasma all throughout college. Once we got married, I did it a little bit more, and a couple times a week. But it really slowed down after the triplets were born, and didn't really do it after my first, real job out of college. But even for Uber, they had this thing that you could program which way you were going. And we lived far East Valley in Arizona, and it was they only allowed it 2 times a day. But you could point saying, hey, I'm going this direction. And so I lived way out in East Mesa, and I had a good hour commute to get into work one way. And I knew if I left at a certain time of the morning, I could get somebody. And usually it was business people headed to the airport doing a one-way trip. And so I hacked that a little bit to not only pay for my commute going into work, but it was like a $50 fare that I had to drive that way anyways because my office was right next to the airport. So I was going to do it anyways. And I got HOV lane and I got a $50 one way in my pocket. And then some of those guys, like every time they came, they didn't have to go through the app. I just say, hey, give me a call when you need it and I'll come pick you up. And as long as you're flexible a little bit with my time, I had my own kind of clientele to hack Uber. And, I'd say still do it through the app, but I'll be right in front of your house when you call for it. So I'm the closest person, you'll get me, and then we'll be off to the airport. So I did that successfully for a while, to the airport every single morning or as much as I could. And it was just, it was free money to me. Why not do that?
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
We've never heard that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
I don't think it would work for everybody and, the timing, but where I lived, being so far in the suburbs, nobody, if you were headed downtown that early in the morning to get in, it was like 5 a.m, you're probably headed to the airport to catch a flight, right?
Yeah.
5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So it was just kind of this weird hack that I found that really kind of paid off, and I was going that way anyway, so why not do it?
Totally. So, Mitch, I got to ask now, at this point in your life, you've got the paid-for house. One, is there anything on your list that you've been really wanting to do with money that you haven't done because you've been so focused on the house? And then two, just walk us through personally where your next dollar goes now as it relates to your investments, spending, fund money. How do you go about thinking about that?
Yeah. Well, first thing, kind of money, we kind of celebrated. We paid off the house last month. So we just got back from Disney World last week. So we've never been, took the kids we were there a good 10 days and just made a good trip and had a really good time. So that was kind of how we celebrated kind of paying off the house. Now kind of focused on, kind of what next. We still have interest, or not escrow, but taxes and insurance on the house, right? But it's a good swing of another $1,700 free cash flow from last month that we don't have to pay. So literally, I found out about this yesterday, and I was really geeking out about it. But I found a mega Roth. My company will allow me to do a mega Roth or mega backdoor Roth through my 401k, because I asked myself the same question. I was saying, where does this go next? Do I just buy index funds after I've maxed out 401k, IRA, 529s? I feel like we're doing everything that we need to do. Do I just go get a taxable brokerage account and, buy VTSAX or index funds or what? What's next? But I found this, that we are able to, at my company, do the mega Roth or backdoor Roth 401k. And I'm really excited about that. So that's probably where I'm going to stash a good chunk until I max that out if I can.
And then what's the financial goals in the future here?
So I don't feel like I'm behind, because that sounds silly to say that, right? But, most people probably don't have an asset like this, but I'm not making money off the home, right? So now I feel like it's catch up time for 401ks and IRAs and just kind of retirement accounts. So my next personal goal, obviously, is the next million, but in total, liquid retirement and funds and everything like that to be able to live off that. Because again, I'm not pulling money out of the house, and we always need a nice place to live. So that's just kind of a free up cash flow for us to be able to invest more and live a little bit more, for sure.
Sure. Has your cost of living increased? Or have you spent more on unnecessary things? I mean, not unnecessary, but have you splurged to spend more as your net worth has gone up and your income has increased?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say early on, when you say what sacrifices I made, is I didn't have the nice car, and I didn't eat out. We really tried to not eat out as much. So just being a little bit more, being able to live a little bit more, not to be so stingy all the time on, let's go out to eat, or let's go get sushi, or, my wife and I, we both drive nicer cars now that are paid off. And, I don't really count that as anything in the assets or net worth, because, they're worth something for sure. But I don't track that into the net worth personally.
Are you a big goal setter, Mitch?
I am. I mean, this was a big goal for me, for sure. I mean, it's been, obviously being in sales. I mean, you have to write down what you want and you work towards that and set micro goals to be able to accomplish that. So that was big, always been big for me. But I feel like this has been so not out of reach for so long, but it's what I've been focusing on for so long ever since I've got into my first job out of college. So it is a little bit of, okay, what is next? Because after I hit the net worth of $1 million, I thought I would feel different, but I didn't. It was just a number to me. So realizing that wasn't what I was after all the whole time, but feeling that the house was paid off, that meant something more to me and to the family and to my wife and kids. And, we felt that. So trying to figure out now what is that next thing that really is going to, bring us that next, or what is that next goal that we're really wanting to do. So I think the $1 million in fluid or retirement, 401k would be the next big goal, but this is uncharted territory because again, we just hit this a month ago. So I'm excited, but kind of want to strategize on what really lies next for us.
Yeah. Well, congratulations. So, we talked a little bit about this earlier when we went back to the beginning of your story, but I just want to read a part of a paragraph that you sent us before the show. You said, 7 years ago, we took Dave's Financial Peace University and knew in our hearts that it is something we had to do. We had to sacrifice to win with money. Along this journey, we have had so many heart-to-hearts. We laughed, we cried, we dreamed. Being raised by a single mother myself and my wife seeing her parents struggle with money for too long, together we committed that we would change our family tree. Since that day, we followed the baby steps, cut out unnecessary bills, avoided new debt like the plague, lived on way less than we made, and said no when we wanted to say yes. So I just thought, I wanted to read that, Mitch, because I thought it's pretty inspiring, and being the first person in your family to go to college. What a turnaround here, and you're so young, right? How old were you when you became a millionaire?
32, and I'm still 32. So yeah, it was just hit it. So I laughed at one of your questions was saying, what do you recommend for 30-year-olds? And I was like, well, I am 30. So I don't know, start early, have a goal, track your spending, lifestyle creep. Those are just kind of the things that we've tried to be very deliberate about our money and focus on things until they happen. So, I don't see, my story being inspiring or anything. We just kind of focused on what we wanted to do and we did it. And, we were excited where we're at for sure, but we know this isn't the net, we can't stop what we're doing right now and just drop it all. So it's just kind of a step in the journey and, we're excited for the road ahead for sure.
Yeah. Congrats. Any books or products you recommend or that you read along the way that were impactful to you?
Millionaire Next Door is, again, probably nothing that you guys haven't heard. I'm probably not going to list a book here that, others haven't said before me, but very impactful. Obviously Total Money Makeover from Dave Ramsey started it for me. Financial Peace University. We were big Dave disciples or whatever you want to call us, but big nerd there. But Millionaire Next Door really, that mindset took me of like, okay, they don't have to. Yes, we live in a nice home, but nobody around us would know, kind of what we're doing or that the house is paid off or anything like that. We don't have to act a certain way and have this net worth. And that's what we always strive to live by. So the Millionaire Next Door is something that I strive to be, is kind of be that undercover, I'm not in the thing, like I don't dress nice, like I'm kind of a, you wouldn't, that stereotypical. So that really resonated with me when I read that book. But other than that, some really good, online groups that I have followed, not only Dave Ramsey, but then kind of graduated to, Choose FI, that movement. Really love that group. And then another one, shout out to is a Millennial Money Man community and him. I just a really kind of fun money group and support group, if you will, of like-minded people. I think that's really important along the way because I didn't have people necessarily in my day-to-day doing the same things that I was doing. So, you're looked at it weird or why you can pay off the whole house or do this with money. But, having people around you with similar goals and being like-minded, I think really helps along the journey.
Mitch, does your family or friends know of your wealth or the fact that you've paid off the house at all?
I've shared with the house, and we were reluctant almost even to do that, but we did it because again, we shared that because we felt like there is such a taboo with personal finance and money. But I think we should, celebrate each other's successes more and not envy or, like, punish people for winning with money or making decisions. Like one of my best friends that I went to school with, he did go on the dental path and he just graduated, and, we're very similar. We graduated the same year. He is a dentist and he just paid off, $500,000 of his loans, and, a month ago, right after I celebrated the house. So we have that kind of mindset, and that's same thing. He was like nervous to tell people that of like, hey, I've paid off this money because are they going to think of me different because then they know I made more money and this and that. It's like, no, you did an awesome thing by paying off, $500,000 4 years out of dental school, and you're going to be set up for the rest of your life if you just keep making those choices. And so that, I don't like the scarcity mindset, but I like to be smart on, trying to make good decisions with the money to set you up for success long term. And so, yeah, we did share about the house, and it was surprising to see how many people were excited for us. I just didn't want comments of like, well, I guess you're picking up the tab next time we go out to eat or something like that,
Yeah. Yeah. So, Mitch, early on, what was your motivator?
Brand new. I mean, the triplets, having 3 kids right out of college. It's not something I'm sure most people would have to experience or do experience, and not having a dime to our name. Luckily we were at zero right out of college, so we didn't have the student debt or anything that, what my wife did. We paid that very quickly out of my savings. But we were able to start very, at ground zero, at zero instead of negative net worth. But knowing that I wanted to be the sole income, but my wife didn't have to work unless she chose to. And she does side things that she enjoys, and some for money, some just because it's a hobby, she's big into carpentry and building things and doing that. And she loves it. But brand new kids, we made not only a decision, but the financial decision of she was working before the triplets. But guess what? Childcare for 3 kids is ridiculous. She wouldn't have broken even going back to work just for childcare costs. So she was forced to be stay-at-home mother early on, and we had to have that financial stability. And so being in sales, that really was on me to know that I could, if I put in extra work or extra, hours or whatever you want to call it, or just, the grind, that I could make more money. I wasn't limited to, a 9 to 5 or as much effort as I could move up the ladder or whatever. But that's why sales was so impactful, because you put in what you get out what you put in. And I was able to be successful, and, 8 years, I'm still similar or same role, just with a different company. It's paid off for us. But it's, that kind of takes us to the next journey. Is this something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, being sole individual sales? Probably not. But if we can pay down and have less overhead, then I could maybe do something different long term that maybe I enjoy more, or it's not as stressful type of career sales.
Yeah. Were you commission or salary or both?
It was both. I started, my first job was, $50K plus commission out of college. So, not terrible. But it was pretty quick to realize that if you didn't more than double your job or your salary and commission, you were in the wrong gig, because they put us to work. But it was a very good company that I learned a lot of good things as far as work ethic and about myself, and how much they pushed you. And I stayed at that job for 5 years, but that's kind of where we moved up here to Utah, where we're at now. I realized there's a certain point that the work-life balance wasn't there. And I towards the end, I was making amazing money, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't, we were paying off debt so much into the mortgage, but like, we weren't enjoying that money. I wasn't enjoying my kids. I had an hour drive one way, each way. So I'd get back super late and then just be drained. It wasn't healthy. And so we made the switch to a different company, where the work-life balance has been much better. And no, I'm not making as much as I did, but it's still a very good living. And now that we've, taken out all of our debt, and we don't have to make as much to live very comfortably, and that's rewarding for us.
Yeah. So as much as you're comfortable sharing, what's been the range of income you've made? You mentioned you started at 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000 was our first year. I think, and I made some commissions. I started January 2014, 50K there. I think I finished 75 that year, so that was probably the lowest. Best year made over 3, but it's been usually around 2. It's kind of where we've been at most years.
Good for you, Mitch. It's awesome.
Right.
Did you worry about money
during these years, or
just as you were building it up? I mean, I think to some degree people get so infatuated with trying to reach a goal or get out of debt, or you start worrying about it, right? And oftentimes I think that could be a motivator. Is do I have enough, or am I not going to be able to afford something? Can I raise these triplets or whatever? I mean, did you worry?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that was our chief sales officer. I respected him so much, and he kind of said, paint that picture of what is the worst that could happen, or have a vision of like the worst thing that could happen ever for you. And it was very much a scarcity mentality of what's the worst thing, and never let yourself go there again. Never let that happen. Work everything towards going the opposite direction of, well, if I lose my job, then this will happen. My wife will leave me, my kids will, or whatever, like we're down the streets. Like it was just so much and so vivid to get there. I wanted to go as far and as quick away from that, because I'd seen that very personal in my life growing up, of not having the money and not being able to do things of other people were doing, and not like I was deprived or not like living in poverty, but I know I wanted something more. And so that really, not only wanting to go do the opposite of, seeing what others had, but just knowing that I could achieve that, and I wanted to get there. And so, yeah, I've been scared. I've seen other people make good money in sales right around me, and then make questionable decisions with their money. And then they're forced to have that $300,000 a year each year just to stay afloat. And I knew I didn't want that. I knew it wasn't sustainable. And, you have bad years and good years, and I've never had a terrible year. We've been very blessed for that, but it's not been something that I knew it could happen. The stars could align and I could have a terrible year, and I didn't want to have to live at a certain, dollar amount, bringing, take home pay, and that just to break even, and had to make $300K. I wanted to say, no, worst case scenario, we could live off $50K, and then the rest is just gravy. And we had that mindset of, if we can do this, then we can do so much more and enjoy money, but let's get there, and let's focus, and let's do this.
Well, so now that you're there and you're 1.1 at age 32, and you're making a couple hundred or close to, maybe a little less, I don't know what you make now, but what's the motivation now? Is it that $1 million in retirement? Is it financial freedom? Is it flexibility? How come you go to work every day now?
Yeah. It's only been a month, so again, it's still fresh. So, but we've sat down and dreamed, of like, what can we do? And we see family or friends, parents, and being able to do things, and have a cabin, and or a vacation home, and everybody gets together, and family reunions. Like we want that. My wife wants land. She doesn't know, but she does know it. She's a huge DIY. A lot of our money goes to projects around the house, but she's always busy, always doing something. And so she would love a fixer-upper, or a land, or a farm, and loves animals. And so I see that in the future, as much as I don't like to tell her that that's probably happening, that I see ourselves on getting a couple acres and having a property, whether it's a cabin or a permanent move to another home. But I definitely want to cash flow that and not go into to more debt to do that. So that's something. And a little fun thing is, I want a truck. So that's on the immediate thing of like, all right, let's go get a truck so we can enjoy Utah and some of the 4x4 and camping and nature, and some of the things that we can't do in her minivan right now with the kids.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up here, Mitch, with some rapid fire questions, and then we'll get into the last words of advice. So what's been the most expensive car you've ever purchased?
my car probably right now. It's a Lexus little sedan that I enjoy putting around in. It was about $30K, but paid for it cash and was able to save up for the money to do that. And now I enjoy it.
Okay. What about the most expensive meal out that you've personally paid for?
Probably our 10-year anniversary. My wife and I we just hit and went up to Fleming's, and we don't do that a whole lot, but we did everything. So I think we ended up spending like $300 at Fleming's, and that was big for us because we don't do that a whole lot.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted the big what's the tomahawk. I've seen them, and it's like, $90 steak, whatever. Let's get it. Let's have fun. And then that was right after that was another celebration of paying off the home too. So a 10-year and I paid off home. It was time to celebrate.
Oh, neat. Was Millionaire a milestone? Did you celebrate for that?
That happened within 30 days of each other. So all
right. So it was a celebration for everything.
Yeah, it was kind of accumulated, and then I sold off. We had $20K in stock from one of my last companies or whatever. So I sold that off to put us over to pay for the home, and then I had a big commission check come in at the beginning of the year. So it kind of really helped with the net worth in that next tranche there.
Okay. What's worth the money and what's not been worth the money?
I shared a little bit earlier. We live in a nice house. We have nice cars. We enjoy nice things. But my wife's not a big, girly girl with purses and shoes and clothes and stuff. So I'd say it's clothes. We don't spend money on clothes or, things like that. But we do enjoy taking the kids to, on trips and memberships to local things and farms and aquariums and rock climbing and events. And we enjoy having them in those things. So as much as I, don't like spending the money sometimes because some of those can kind of get expensive, we realize it's money well spent to let them not only figure out what they like, but to enjoy that. And especially while they're young, that Disney World trip we just took, we try to do something like that every year with the kids, some type of big trip. So experiences, to answer your questions, and that's cliche. People say that all the time, but experience, not things.
Awesome. Have you ever used a financial advisor?
We have, or we did. Early on, we used one of Dave Ramsey's Smart Investors, and he kind of helped set us up originally with some of the funds and the 529s. But I wouldn't say it's very active. They're just still kind of sitting there, and that's kind of my next journey of now that the house is finally paid off. I can kind of manage some of the things myself a little bit more, and really get to the next step of investing. Otherwise, it's been kind of set and forget, kind of blind investing right now with 401ks and 529s and IRAs. I'm sure I could have leveraged and got more out of it, but it's been, okay, we're going to put a set percentage for a while, and once the house is paid off, then we can really kind of go ham on these things. Really accelerate even more. And so I think I'll be doing a lot more moving forward with some of these investing. And now that we're out of state, he's still in Arizona, so might be looking for somebody new.
Yeah. All right. Last question here. So as you've hit millionaire and at 1.1 and 32 years old, has that brought more happiness to you, more confidence? And what does it mean to be happy and fulfilled? And has the money brought that for you?
When I saw the net worth over $1 million, it didn't. I tend to move my goalposts and kind of the next goal and the next thing to try to. I thought the millionaire status would bring me more joy than it did, and I was kind of puzzled by that. And I really looked to. I did some not soul searching, but just kind of that day that I saw that, and I was like, "Sweet, we made it." But realizing that was a stepping stone. That was one point in the one step in the direction. That wasn't the end goal. It didn't mean, it meant something, but I wasn't as fulfilled from that number as I thought I was. We got that fulfillment that I was looking for out of the home. I felt like, because then the burden was off of us of, the shackles or the debt free or the freedom or not owing a dime to anybody or anything, and freeing up cash flow so that we can do whatever we want now. And I haven't enjoyed a commission check in 8 years to the way I, want to go do some fun things. And it's not like we have lived a deprived lifestyle, but we've been very focused on what we've wanted to do and less splurging than maybe we wanted to at times. And so I think maxing out everything and investing even more, getting caught up to where I'd like to be, I don't think that is going to give me the happiness or that, but the freedom of knowing that we are along the journey. And I don't say we have to coast now and do things more, but it definitely is fulfilling knowing that we're on our journey, on our path, that we're going to make it, or we're going to live a good life and have a good lifestyle and be able to do things that many other people won't be able to along this journey. And we're thankful for that. Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing. I mean, really cool story and great advice and input. So thank you for coming on again, everybody. That's Mitch, 32 years old, 1.1 million. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thanks, Mitch.
Thanks for listening to the Millionaires Unveiled podcast with Clark Sheffield and Chase Mattinson. For more stories, investment opportunities, and information, check out our website at millionairesunveiled.com. See you next time when you'll hear from another everyday millionaire.